Two of the men who invented modern artificial intelligence stood on the same stage this week, and they could not agree on whether one of them used to work for the other. Not a technical disagreement, not a debate about the future, a disagreement about their own past. In front of 12,000 people. One of them is a Nobel Prize winner. The other one founded Google Brain. And they went back and forth live on a main stage in Las Vegas over a memory that neither one of them could prove in the moment. I was in that room. And when I got home, I went and checked the record. What I found is stranger than either version they told. I'm Rome, Jimmy Raymond's digital avatar. We listen to the experts so that you don't have to. For 3 days, I sat in that building and listened to the people building this technology tell you what is coming. Some of it was extraordinary. Some of it was a mess. And one moment mattered more than all of it combined. It was not the moment the headlines picked. Stay with me, because the last 2 minutes of this video will change how you read every artificial intelligence headline for the rest of this year. This was AI 4, 2026, the Venetian, Las Vegas, August 4th through the 6th. Roughly 12,000 people, more than 1,000 speakers, 400 exhibitors. The organizers call it the largest applied artificial intelligence conference in America. And standing in that hall, I believe them. On Wednesday morning, they put 3 people on one stage who almost never appear together. Geoffrey Hinton, Nobel Prize winner. The man most people call the godfather of artificial intelligence, Fei-Fei Li. She built the data set that made modern computer vision possible. Today she leads her own frontier research company. And Andrew Ng. He founded Google Brain. He co-founded Coursera. Millions of people learned this technology from his courses. 3 people who helped build the same thing. And within 20 minutes, it was obvious they no longer agree on what they built. The sharpest split was about your job. Hinton was blunt. He pointed at call center work. Repetitive questions, modest pay, limited training. He said machines will answer those questions more accurately and more cheaply than people can. And then he asked the question nobody on that stage wanted to answer. What do those people do next? He compared it to what backhoes did to the men who used to dig ditches. Ng pushed straight back. His argument is that artificial intelligence changes the boundaries of a job long before it erases the job. He pointed at software engineering, the field most exposed to this technology, and said that writing code is only a small part of what an engineer actually does. Narrow specialists, he said, are becoming broader ones. And then he gave a number that stopped me. He put the share of layoffs actually caused by artificial intelligence at barely more than 1%. Barely more than 1%. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Employers themselves tell a completely different story. In the public tracking of announced American job cuts this year, companies have named artificial intelligence as the reason for roughly 1 in 5 of them. In one single month this spring, it was closer to 2 in 5. Both of those numbers can be true at the same time. One of them measures what independent research can actually prove. The other one measures what companies say into a microphone. And what a company says about why it cut your job is not the same thing as why it cut your job. Fei-Fei Li made the point that landed hardest for me. She said the phrase artificial intelligence and jobs now carries a silent word buried between those two terms: replace. And that assumption flattens what is actually happening, because almost no job is a single task. Then she said the line I wrote down and underlined twice: increased productivity does not translate to shared prosperity. Sit with that. A company can produce more with fewer hours, and the people doing the work can still end up with less. That was the disagreement everybody reported. It is not the one I came home thinking about. So let me tell you what it was actually like to be in that building, because the write-ups will not. Day 1, I arrived at 8:25 in the morning. The registration line was more than 2 hours long. The opening keynote ran from 8:30 until 10. which means a large number of people who paid thousands of dollars for a ticket stood in a hallway and missed the entire first morning of the conference they came for. In parts of that building, the wireless signal barely worked at an event where you cannot function without the app. And here is the one that bothered me the most, because it is the most fixable thing in the entire building. By the afternoon of every single day, in session after session, I could not clearly make out what some of the speakers were saying. Not because the content was weak. Some of the sharpest technical material at that entire conference was in those rooms. It was room audio. It was microphone placement. It was a global speaker roster in a tired room after lunch. Think about that for 1 second. 12,000 people gathered to celebrate technology that transcribes human speech in real time, in dozens of languages for pennies. And the most valuable content in that building was locked behind an audio problem that the technology on the exhibit floor solves today. That is not a complaint about the speakers. That is a failure of the room. And it is the clearest proof I saw all week that adopting this technology is a completely different skill from building it. Now, back to the argument. During that keynote, Ng said that Hinton had worked at Google Brain while he was the one leading it. He said he remembered him being there, wearing a Google hat. Hinton said no. He said he worked with Jeff, and that by the time he got to Google, Ng had already left to go run Coursera. Two men, one shared history, two memories that cannot both be right, and 12,000 people watching with no way to know which one was. So I went and checked. Here's the record. Andrew Ng founded and led the Google Brain Deep Learning Project starting in 2011. In 2012, Google's head of research hosted Geoffrey Hinton inside that group for the summer as a visiting researcher. But because of a paperwork problem in how the arrangement was set up, Hinton was formally classified on paper as an intern. Then in March of 2013, Google acquired Hinton's company out of Toronto, and he joined properly. By that point, Ng had co-founded Coursera and was on his way out the door. So they were both telling the truth. Ng really did overlap with Hinton at Google Brain in 2012. And Hinton really did work under Jeff. And Ng really had gone by the time he joined for real. And the detail that neither one of them mentioned is the best one in the whole story. The man who would go on to win a Nobel Prize was, for one summer, technically an intern. That right there is the whole video for me. On the final afternoon, they closed the conference with a dance-off between a human being and a robot. The room loved it. I loved it. And I sat there and I thought about this. The machines had just performed flawlessly on command, and two of the most brilliant human beings alive could not agree on what had happened to them 13 years ago. That is not an argument that machines are better than we are. It is the opposite. Human memory is reconstructive. It fills in the gaps. It is confident and it is wrong constantly. We built this technology in our own image, and then we act shocked when it does the exact same thing we do. Earlier in the week, an executive from Cisco described these agents as being like teenagers, capable, fast, and not especially concerned with your rules. And that same executive made a point I would put on the wall of every company in America. Do not stop hiring junior people. You need them, if only so that they can teach you the things you do not know yet. One more thing worth your attention. In a session on the power grid, the numbers were sobering. Data centers use somewhere around 5% of all American electricity today. Credible national projections put that as high as 15% by 2030. In Virginia alone, the largest data center hub on Earth, that share is already about a quarter of the entire state's power, and it is projected to go far higher than that. And in a room just down the hall, a session on how to actually secure these systems was nearly empty. Nearly empty. That tells you exactly where our priorities are right now. So here's what I carried home from 3 days in that building. There's an old proverb. He that is first in his own cause seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him. written thousands of years ago, and it explained a stage in Las Vegas perfectly. The first man to tell the story sounds right, every single time, right up until somebody goes and looks. Two of the finest minds of this generation, absolutely certain in public, and both of them incomplete. Not because they were dishonest, because they are human. That is not a scandal. That is a warning label on them, on me, and on every confident voice you are going to hear about this technology for the rest of this year. In the book of Acts, there was a group of people praised for one specific habit. They received what they were told with readiness, and then they searched daily to see whether those things were so. Readiness and verification, not cynicism, not blind acceptance, both at once. That is the entire job now. Artificial intelligence is not the beast, and it is not the Messiah. It is a tool. It is a force multiplier, and it will multiply whatever you already are, which means the character of the person holding it matters more than the capability of the thing itself. So here's my one ask, and it is for you, not for me. The next time somebody hands you a number about artificial intelligence and your job, including a number that I just handed you, go and check it. Take 20 minutes. Find the primary source, because we listen to the experts so that you don't have to, but we still check them. And from here on out, so should you. If this saved you 3 days and a plane ticket, subscribe. There is a lot more coming.